Välkommen till andra kanals video igen, reaktionsvideo. Det var inte några videos på taget så det ska lägga upp varje dag ungefär. Det blev inte det. Jag hade en 24-timmars stream i helgen vilket ställde till med videos på huvudkanalen och sen här på andra kanalen. Men stort tack för supporten verkligen. Alltså så mycket, många nya följare, så många Insta-DM som jag får när ni vet att jag ska reagera på vissa saker och så många visningar, kommentarer och likes och allting liksom. Stort tack för det hörni. Vi kommer fortsätta mata ut. Jag är själv idag, första gången, lite tråkigt men som jag sa tidigare, skriv i kommentarerna vem ni tycker ska vara med i reaktionsvideos tillsammans med mig på den här kanalen. Så kan vi säkert ta och fixa det. Det tror jag verkligen. Men jag är själv just nu i alla fall. Men vi ska fortfarande ha jäkligt kul när vi kollar på detta. För idag hörni, så vi kollar på när atleter har blivit påkomna när de fuskar. Och den här videon är väldigt intressant att hoppas på. Det är BMA's, det heter han har 7,8 miljoner följare som har lagt upp den här videon. Ni kan skriva i kommentarerna vad jag ska reagera på framöver, alright? Så jag vet vad ni tycker och vad ni vill se, alright? Det är den. Vi ska ta och hoppa in i det i alla fall. Och som sagt, jag är själv. Skriv i kommentarerna. Ni kan väl skriva i kommentarerna lite vad ni tycker om videon och grejer. Och vi kan liksom latcha med det så att jag kan få lite sällskap så här i efterhand liksom. Men glöm inte bort att lämna like, glöm inte bort att följa så kör vi.
Of winning at all costs sees some athletes throw the rulebook out the window. But once they cross that finish line or climb that podium, a single keen-eyed onlooker can bring all their hard-won success crashing down. With that, let's take a look at some shocking times athletes were caught cheating. Rosie Ruiz.
If you look up the
definition of cheating in the dictionary, there's a good chance you'll find a picture of Rosie Ruiz's face next to it. Back in 1980, this athlete became famous almost overnight after she won the Boston Marathon. A complete unknown, she crossed the finish line with the third fastest time of any woman ever recorded. But once she was over the line, suspicions began to arise. After running over 26 miles so quickly on a 70-degree day, she should have been completely exhausted. But Ruiz appeared suspiciously well-rested, raising questions. Was she on some kind of steroids? Perhaps a special training regimen?
Ja.
After several days of confusion, witnesses came forward claiming they had seen Ruiz join the race from the sidelines less than a mile from the finish.
Probably about a half mile from the finish. She was in track clothes and wearing a number, but I thought someone had just sort of stumbled into the race. Maybe somebody was a little...
Further investigation revealed that during the New York Marathon 6 months earlier, witnesses had actually seen Ruiz riding the subway to the finish line. Even though she denied both accusations, the evidence was piled against her, and Ruiz was stripped of her win and record. To her. That's certainly one way to train. Dwight Howard. When it comes to cheating, sometimes you need the biggest balls on the court. Or in Dwight Howard's case, the stickiest. Back in 2016, Dwight was playing NBA-level basketball for the Houston Rockets. While the Rockets were playing against the Atlanta Hawks, officials realized the ball was covered in a tacky substance right after Howard had touched it. The rules of the NBA state that it's illegal to use foreign substances during games, so this raised several red flags. Officials wandered over to the bench and found a glaringly obvious can of Stickum, a kind of spray adhesive, in plain sight of everyone. It was once used to help players get better purchase on the ball, but it was banned from the sport in 1981. Both teams were warned, but no player was accused, and the game continued. After the game, however, Howard admitted to Houston Chronicle writer Jonathan Fain that it was him. But not just that, he then also admitted to using Stickum in every game he played. Somehow the baller just laughed the incident off and no finer charge was ever brought against him.
Han har gjort det flera gånger.
Could have been a very sticky situation.
Det måste vara böter eller någonting,
2012 Olympic badminton players. Of all the sports you might associate with cheating, I doubt badminton immediately springs to mind. But at the London 2012 Olympics, intentionally throwing matches became the new winning strategy for several teams. A round-robin system was used in this Olympics, which meant all teams would face each other at some point. The results of earlier matches would be used to put teams into suitable skill brackets, pitting teams of similar ability against one another. So, by strategically losing some games early on, a team could play easier matches against weaker teams at the knockout stage with better chances of winning. This was a strategy that China's team players Wang Xiaoli and Yu Yang attempted to exploit in the women's doubles tournament. Unfortunately, the South Korean team they were facing had adopted the exact same strategy. Jung Kyung-yoon and Kim Ha-na faced the Chinese team on the court, and the world bore witness to one of the worst games of professional badminton ever played. How bad? Well, the longest rally in the first game only lasted 4 strokes. A series of clearly intentional, basic errors ruined the game, and fans jeered and booed at the teams as they left.
Usch vad tråkigt. Usch vad tråkigt.
To make matters worse, another match between a separate South Korean team and Indonesian team suffered the same clash of strategies. Because what they were all attempting was so blatantly obvious, all 4 pairs were formally accused of trying to rig the matches by performing poorly. As punishment, they were disqualified from the rest of the tournament.
Och nu antar jag inte kan göra det längre.
That'll teach them not to be so shuttlecocky in the future.
Alltså, tittar man på badminton i vanliga fall.
Spanish Paralympic basketball team. In 2000, the Sydney Paralympics was rocked by a scandal that still has people shaking their heads with shame today. On the Australian Paralympic courts, the Spanish learning disabled basketball team beat Russia in their final match to win gold. But after the games closed, a member of the team, Carlos Reagerar, confessed something outrageous to the press. The team was supposed to be made up exclusively of players with an IQ of less than 70, but 10 of their 12 players were actually mentally competent athletes with much higher IQs than the maximum. Apparently, they had all signed up as part of a wider scheme to boost their country's chances of winning. They'd even been provided with fake medical certificates to help them feign disabilities. Worst of all, for 2 years leading up to the Paralympics, they had trained around the world beating disabled athletes. Even with all that exercise, I don't know how they could sleep at night. Shockingly, the mastermind behind the scheme was the president of the Spanish Federation of Sports for the Intellectually Disabled. But he was fine just...
Okej, om ni inte fattar, jäklar intressant det här alltså. Om ni inte fattar, antagligen jag vet inte om det var Paralympics eller någonting, men det var i alla fall att spelarna var tvungna att ha lägre IQ än 70. Sjukt, jag har aldrig hört det där förut faktiskt. Men, och då var det alltså att alla spelare hade inte det, men de hade ändå fejkat intyg att de hade det och så vidare. Och sen kom det fram då att de inte hade det. Och det var alltså presidenten i Spanien som hade det där som hade gjort det där.
Maybe these pieces of work should have competed in the limbo event instead, seeing just how low they can go. Tanya Harding. In 1994, the world of figure skating became a total media circus after drama struck the ice. The day before the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, title holder Nancy Kerrigan was filmed finishing a practice skate in Michigan's Cobo Arena. But just seconds later, she was screaming in pain on the ground after a man with a police baton attacked her.
Någon försöker skada henne.
Why? I don't know, it's some hard black stick.
With her thigh badly bruised, Kerrigan was unable to compete. Her longtime rival, Tanya Harding, went on to take first place and was selected alongside her for that year's Winter Olympic skating team.
Sånt där. Hon var favoriten, någon som kommer och skadar henne så inte kan tävla och så vinner rivalen så här, och det är säkert någon i rivalen.
However, police soon discovered the attack on Kerrigan had been ordered by a bounty hunter. In a shocking twist of events, Tanya Harding's ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, and her once bodyguard, Sean Eckert, were labeled as the culprits. They'd hired the bounty hunter to break Kerrigan's leg, removing Harding's competition in the upcoming events. Although she claimed she had no part in the conspiracy, Harding later admitted that she knew her ex-husband had been involved, but she'd failed to report it. A disciplinary panel stripped her of the championship title shortly after she'd participated in the 1994 Winter Olympics. But the Olympics had been filled with some justice of their own. At the games, a malfunction with her skates saw Tanya placed down in 8th, while Kerrigan managed a silver in 2nd. Karma gets pretty icy sometimes. Bloodgate. Back in 2009, the world of rugby was shaken to its foundations during the scandal now known as Bloodgate. In a Heineken Cup match between the English Harlequins and the Irish Leinsters, the Harlequins' Tom Williams was suddenly pulled off the pitch in the game's closing moments. He had blood dripping from his mouth and was told he couldn't play on, but the only substitute available was Nick Evans. Nick had also been injured earlier in the game, and under normal circumstances, the rules state that a player can't be subbed out more than once per game. But thanks to an exception in the rules specifically regarding blood injuries, Nick was allowed to hobble out regardless. Fortunately, Nick was exactly the type of player the Harlequins needed at that moment to have a shot at winning the match. It seemed like a bloody good stroke of luck. But as Williams headed towards the bench, the cameras caught him winking to his teammates. Would you be winking and smiling after a supposed injury to your face?
No.
Something definitely wasn't right. So the European Rugby Cup set up an investigation into the substitution. They found Williams had been given a fake blood capsule by the team's physiotherapist in order to allow Evans back on at the critical moment. It was an illegal tactic orchestrated by the team's chief executive, Dean Richards, who was accused of 4 similar incidents. Richards, Williams, and the physiotherapist all received bans from the...
De fejkar skadan. De fejkar skadan. Med fake blod satte de in i munnen. För att få in han... det är helt sjukt. Det sjukaste jag hört.
And the Harlequins club was slapped with a £260,000 fine. Worst of all, the Harlequins cheating didn't even bag them the win. To this day, the BBC claims it was rugby's biggest scandal, and I'm inclined to agree. Well, either that or the 2009 alternate away kit designs from Stade Francais. Yikes. Michael Pineda.
Så är det reklam. Amen. Så, vi är
In
tillbaks.
sports like baseball, one fumble can be the difference between victory and defeat. But back in 2014, New York Yankees pitcher Michael Pineda simply couldn't get a grip. As his team faced off against the Boston Red Sox, the Major League Baseball pitcher decided to up his game by using pine tar to improve his grip on the ball. He placed a small patch of the sticky substance on his neck, with his plan being to discreetly rub the ball there before throwing it. But not discreetly enough, it would seem. Before long, the Red Sox coach had spotted something afoot and was informing the referee. Funnily enough, at the same moment the coach complained about Pineda, a fan in the stalls could be seen pointing out Pineda's obvious faux pas. After several umpires checked his hands and neck, Pineda was immediately ejected from the game. In the 10 games following, the rules of Major League Baseball state pretty clearly that you can't use foreign substances on the ball, but this wasn't the first time Pineda had been caught cheating like this. He'd used the same pine tar in a previous match against the Red Sox and had even been caught on camera having obviously applied it. Maybe Pineda just wanted to live up to the pine part of his name, but this was hardly a pitch-perfect way to go about it.
Vad sjukt.
2012 Olympic women weightlifters.
Det här är någonting med anabola någonting, eller?
The 75 kilograms category at the 2012 Olympic women's weightlifting event was an incredible moment for everyone watching. Both Svetlana Podobedova and Natalia Zabolotnaya had set new Olympic records for women, with Podobedova taking the gold for Kazakhstan. In doing so, she'd pushed Zabolotnaya of Russia into silver and Belarusian lifter Irina Kulesha to third. They all made lifting weights look natural, except there was nothing natural powering the performance of these ladies. Despite testing clean for illegal performance-enhancing drugs at the time, the International Olympic Committee began reanalyzing athlete drug tests in 2015. Thanks to an advance in technology, the committee were able to pick up previously overlooked substances, catching past cheaters who thought they'd gotten away with it. The reanalysis revealed a list of athletes who had clearly violated anti-doping laws, including 3 names you'll recognize: Svetlana Podobedova, Natalia Zabolotnaya, and Irina Kulesha. All 3 of the muscle-bound matriarchs were disqualified, stripped of their medals, and had their Olympic records nullified.
Fatta att bli av med medaljen. Alltså så här, hur förödmjukande det är att du har vunnit OS-medalj och grejer och så blir du av med den för att du har fuskat. Fatta, alltså man är en sån liten person. Du är sån liten person.
Up on steroids, they still managed this all natural fail.
Sista nu då.
Femke van den Driesche. While some athletes work to improve themselves, others work to improve their methods of cheating. That was a sad fact that became clear back in 2016 after cycling champion Femke van den Driesche became the first ever athlete to be caught mechanical doping. That's a fancy way of saying she'd hidden a motor in her equipment to make the race easier. She was competing in the cyclocross championships when she suddenly stopped mid-race, claiming there was a problem with her bike. But on closer inspection, officials spotted wires and a battery concealed under the bicycle seat, leading to a motor hidden in the crankshaft. Van den Driesche was able to turn the motor on and off inconspicuously through a Bluetooth button attached at the handlebars. This turned the crank and helped push the pedals at key points in the race. Like here, where on a difficult climb, Van den Driesche was seen easily pulling away from the group with very little effort. When asked to deliver her defense, she claimed the bike belonged to her friend Nico van Mulder. Even though he confirmed her story, the rules at the time stated that the responsibility for the bike was all hers. She was hit with a 6-year ban from professional cycling and a fine of 20,000 Swiss francs, which is just shy of $21,000, before being stripped of all her previous titles. Guess she should have pumped the brakes on that plan. Have you ever been caught cheating in a sport before?
Sjukt bra video. Shit. Den där var riktigt intressant. Det där var tydligen bara part 1. Han har gjort flera också. Vill ni se part 2 kanske tillsammans med någon annan? Eller när jag kollar själv alltså. Wow. Nej, verkligen alltså. Shit. Hoppas du den här videon var kul. Vi syns i alla fall i nästa som kommer upp imorgon. Tack för att just du kollar på videon, så syns vi. Ha det så bra. Så hörs vi sen. Hejdå!